Welcome back to Making Money Matter, ladies and gentlemen. Now, you might have seen him only a couple of days ago on the gold roundtable that we did. Damien Keys, Managing Director of Sunshine Metals, ASX code is SHN. But I wanted to bring him back because poor bloke, I didn't give him long enough to talk about what they're getting up to at the moment. And we spoke Queensland. For those that don't know, Sunshine Metals have got quite a big area that is getting exciting. Now, I wanted to talk about that because there's some similarities with some other companies out there. Again, not financial advice, ladies and gentlemen. Do your own research. But I just think with a market cap of about 25 mil, a large resource, and getting the job done up there in Queensland, which, by the way, it's really underexplored. And where Sunshine Metals are at the moment is the focus in the past has been on lead zinc. And what Damien's saying is they didn't know what they had their hands on because it's copper gold. We're going to talk about that. We're going to unpack a little bit. He's pretty excited. I'm glad that we've got some time, Damien, to really unpack what the true story is. So thanks for doing the roundtable, but let's now do a deep dive.
Sounds great, Kerry. Thanks for having me on.
Okay, you put some results out recently, but let's just give our audience a brief overview of Sunshine Metals. And I know you're pretty excited at the moment. So do the brief overview and then we'll do the deep dive.
Yeah, so as you touched on, we're a Queensland-based, Queensland-focused company. So we've got a head office in Townsville, North Queensland. Our main project is out at the Ravenswood Consolidated Project. So it's in the Charters Towers district, which is an hour and a half out the road from our office. Now, this district has produced over 20 million ounces of gold over a history spanning back to the late 1800s, so 1880s, thereabouts. It produced a huge amount of gold out of this district. There's also been a big copper, lead, zinc style of mineralisation mined in the district as well. So 14 million tonnes worth of, they call it VMS ore, and it's a simplified term, but it's a bulk of different base metals, and they have a bit of gold with them as well. So there's been a lot of gold mined. There's been a lot of these base metals mined out of the district. Now we're focusing on a project, a little prospect in there called Liontown, and it's not so little. So Liontown, Liontown, and is divided into two parts, Liontown and Liontown East.
Okay.
Now they're separated by about 400 metres, and it's just a lack of drilling that is the separation at the moment. The combined resource between those two projects is 4.5 million tonnes. It's in zinc equivalent terms is how we have to report it, because zinc was what the historic guys were exploring for predominantly.
So why do you, sorry to interrupt you, so why do you have to, just because historically they were looking for zinc, why do you have to then report it as zinc equivalent?
Zinc constitutes the highest metal value in the resource as it stands at the moment.
Okay.
Our view is by the end of the year to be reporting both in zinc but also in gold equivalent terms. And we think we're pretty close to being able to do that through the work that we've been doing, where we've been looking essentially under the zinc ore body. And we've really been working on the copper gold portion of the system. And that's what's getting us so excited is this mine actually started life. So it was a historic mine back between 1905 and 1911.
Oh.
It was a gold mine, the Carrington gold mine. The Carrington lode is still part of our current resource, what the old timers hadn't taken out. They mined 28,000 ounces at 22 grams gold. So really high grade gold back in the day. And then for a period there, the next group came in the 50s and found a lead zinc ore body on a nice easy contact to follow. It's a sediment volcanic contact, so it's a rock change that's pretty obvious. And that was the focus of exploration for the next, well, essentially 70 years. The Langer was up the road. The Langer was a mill set up for lead and zinc ores. So that was the focus. What they had been doing is as they drilled through these lead zinc ores, they were actually tagging gold and copper behind that main contact. Now, we got our hands on it. We loved the look of the gold and copper side of things. And in September last year, when we finally were granted the keys to the kingdom and we could wheel a drill rig in ourselves, we actually drilled probably the best gold intersection. Well, it was the best gold intersection at Liontown that had ever been drilled. So
Oh,
we hit 17 meters at 22 grams gold. Now, as a point of reference, if you're looking at normally 5 at 5 would be considered a really nice start. So 17 meters of width is huge widths at really bonanza grades.
what does that
We
tell you? Sorry to interrupt you again, but what does that tell you when you talk widths? For those people that are not geos out there, when you say 17 meters, that's a really strong width. What does that mean in
it
five-year-old
just
terms?
so it means that you are certainly going to be able to extract it economically.
Okay.
So it's going to be mineable widths. So that's a big tick. But the biggest tick for us was that you don't get that concentration of gold without it being attached to something bigger,
Okay.
right? So it's very rare that you'd expect to have a hit like that and not be able to follow it up. Um, we did follow it up. So we came back earlier this year. I guess to finish that, 17 at 22, we obviously didn't realise at the time that we're going to drill the biggest gold intersection to date out of the 400 holes drilled into the ore body. So we only had 2 holes broadly testing that one zone. It was a bit of a first pass look see at the deposit. Now, the second hole still hit gold, but it was testing a fault zone and it had 2 meters at 4 grams, so not as good. Now we came back and we followed up on that initial gold hit. And you'd recall that I've just said there's meant to be lead, zinc, copper, all these other things. This was gold and pretty much only gold. Now we stepped underneath that hole by about 45 meters and we hit 20 meters at 18 grams gold. So
Oh,
about the
wow.
same thicknesses and same bonanza tenor. And we got pretty excited about what this might mean for these football loads at Liontown. We've come back. So this is right out on the eastern end of the Liontown component of the resource. So we're
Okay.
moving into that gap zone, that the gap in drilling out to Liontown East. So we've just finished a drill program there where we came in with some diamond holes and we've just intersected 2 nice thick zones of really good grade gold and copper. So it reaffirms our belief that this is a gold copper system, not just a gold system. And it's also confirmed that the gold or that the copper's increasing with depth. So the geological model's holding together. But more importantly, now we've got smack in the middle of this gap zone, we've got thick zone of high grade gold and copper. And that gives us a lot of confidence that we're going to be able to join those 2 resource areas up and add a substantial amount more metal. And importantly, that gold, a lot more gold metal. So we'll be able to report in both gold and zinc equivalents at the end of the year.
I want to get into the drilling in a minute, but I just want to ask you this. And I hope, Glenn Demo, you don't mind me asking this. And sorry, and if you can't answer this, just tell me to shut up. But recently, and it's a kind of a comparison I want to make because I think it's important to just strip it back, if you like. Now, Australian Gold and Copper had a really decent gold hit, and their shares went from, I think, 5 cents to almost 60. It's come back to about 34 cents, but that's a 100 million market cap company. And I look at what you're doing, and I'm scratching my head, Damien, and I'm saying, because you seem like you're pretty excited about this. You've been around for a while. I'm scratching my head on behalf of the audience out there to say, is the market missing something? Are you not excited enough? I don't know. Put it into really basic terms for me. or have you not done enough work? I don't know. Scratch head.
No, look, firstly, the guys at AGC are doing a fantastic
Of
job down
course,
there and
absolutely.
seeing success. So all
Yep,
credit to them, and Glenn's a great guy.
we love them.
Um, but I do think the market's missing a trick here, and I think um, I think we're incredibly undervalued, and a lot of MDs will tell you that. But we are hitting stunning gold numbers again and again and again at the moment. So, and certainly comparable to what AGC are hitting,
Yep.
at least on par with that. But we've hit it in multiple holes adjacent to a large high grade resource. And we see that as blue sky that we can fill in straight away. So we're
Let's
confident we'll be able
let's
to replicate some of these numbers as well.
let's talk about the drilling, if you wouldn't mind, because you talk about Liontown, you talk about Liontown East, and then you say there's 400 meters which
Yeah.
hasn't been drilled. Is that right?
There's about 6 holes in that gap zone, 4 holes. Now, look, it's probably easiest. I'm a visual person, so
So
if
am I.
well, I've got a presentation, and if you don't mind me just sharing
Hopefully
a
not a whole
screen,
presentation.
I'll show you one screen. So,
Okay.
so this is Liontown and Liontown East. So
Okay.
Liontown, we've got almost 3 million tonnes at a 10.5% recoverable zinc equivalent. Forget that zinc number. It's just a large amount of metal that's comprised of about 1% copper and one and a bit grams gold within that metal endowment. Now, there's that big resource block that's about a kilometre long, right? And it
Yep.
still is open at depth and certainly out to the west. But to the east is the area that we're focusing on. So we've drilled the 2 holes there with the yellow labels.
Oh, yep.
The numbers there, broad zone, 16 metres in both holes, at around that 4 to 4.5% copper and 0.5% to 1%. Sorry, 4 to 4.5 grams gold
Gold.
and half a percent to 1% copper. But within that, we've got a nice consistent zone of really high grade mineralisation too. So 7.7 at 6.4 gold and zero point 0.8 copper, and 6.2 at 9 grams gold and 2.5% copper. These are really substantial numbers in anyone's book. Now, just off to the east of that, we've got the Liontown East resource. Now, that Liontown East resource was, if we recall, back on that sediment volcanic contact, and it's largely a zinc resource. Now, that's not to say that these gold and copper lodes don't continue under. In fact, when we've had a look, there's 31 holes. Three of the holes have been fully assayed top to bottom, and 28 of those holes, underneath that sediment contact, only 25% of the drilling has been assayed. Now, we know there's significant mineralisation up there too. Um, there's hits like 7.5 meters at 3.5%, 3.5 grams gold and about 1% copper out there. But the areas they've sampled are just where there was chalcopyrite. So we know from our experience now that you don't necessarily need chalcopyrite to have the gold. And we see
Explain
huge
chalcopyrite to us. Explain.
chalcopyrite's a yellow copper sulfide. So it's a yellow, shiny mineral that you can see and obviously say that's copper, but
Okay.
you don't necessarily need that to get the gold. So we think there's a huge opportunity to put more gold and copper underneath Liontown East as well, behind that resource shape. So we see this as being, we've essentially got a kilometre where we've defined gold and copper resource in beneath that sediment contact. We've got this gap zone where we've now demonstrated that we've got gold and copper within that area. And then we've got Liontown East, where there is demonstrated hits of gold and copper, but it is severely undersampled. So we're just really excited that we've got essentially another uh, over 700 metres of strike extent that we're just starting to open up with some bonanza hits, and we see this as being a no-brainer in terms of drilling out, stepping out our drill density, and converting a lot of this to resource pretty quickly.
Do you think, I'm just looking at this going, do you think the market doesn't fully understand this sort of zinc equivalent and
100%.
yeah, and I think that's what I'd like to dig into. Excuse the pun.
Well, I guess if you can do the maths pretty quickly on it and work out in gold terms what it may or may not be, right? So I'll save you doing the maths, and although we can't go normally into the public sphere, it's around in terms of what would be recovered. We're looking at around that 800,000 ounces at about 4.9 grams per ton gold. And that was done a few months back off.
Just repeat that for us again.
It's around 800,000 ounces recoverable at about 4.9 grams gold.
4.9
And that was done at
is bloody good.
4.9 grams. So if you had a resource in the Yilgarn, for example, that was going 800,000 ounces at just under 5,
They'd be pretty excited.
you'd have a huge market cap. I
Yeah.
think, and I get the complication around zinc. We're looking to rectify that as quick as we can.
Yeah.
And we're doing that by drilling great gold numbers in and under this resource. So we're making huge inroads. We only picked this ground up. We acquired it in May. The deal was completed in September last year. So we've had the ability to drill this now for about 6 months. I think we've made some fantastic inroads super fast. We've recognised value out of the old data set. So we're maximising bang for buck here. And this is before we've even stepped off and shown you any of the other exciting prospects, Kerry.
Yeah, I know. I wanted to focus because there's so much going on. I just wanted to, if it's okay with you, to focus on because this is the latest results. So let's just focus on Liontown. And I actually wanted to ask you, is that going to be Sunshine Metals? I know you've got other projects which you're looking at, etc. But Liontown's the focus, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. So Liontown will soak up about 3/4 of the exploration budget.
Gotcha.
We are onto a winner here, and we're certainly not going to take our foot off the pedal there. What we have got though is there are a couple of other stunning targets that need to be pretty impressive to take eyes off Liontown. So,
all right.
Well,
if they get impressive, you're doing some drilling. If they get impressive, you'll come back and we'll do a focus on that.
100%.
If I could just ask you, with the Liontown East and this infill drilling, if you like, not infill drilling, but if this sort of gap zone, are you looking for the source of the gold, number one? And number two, do you think this is just one big system that if you pull it all together, you go, look, big open pit could be going, look, it's early days, ladies and gentlemen, but could be going for a long, long, long time.
Yeah. This is it's a massive system, and it's easy to look at a map like that and sort of tune out to the fact that this thing's a mile long. You go and walk a mile out, step out your front door and go a mile. This is a big, big system. So it's not, even for us, it's not until you get boots on the ground that you go, "Whoa, this is huge." Now, the bulk of this system comes through to surface. And we're sure there's going to be opportunities for open pit material there. All these lodes, so be it the lead, zinc rich stuff, right through to the copper rich and gold rich ends, we're talking about every sort of 25 to 30 meters, there's another lode of mineralization. So it's all going to be accessible from the same infrastructure. We're not talking about needing multiple pits here, there, and everywhere.
Okay.
There's be one pit and one underground setup that you'd turn drives out, and you'd be able to access all the ores within. It's a very doable proposition. We're not having to think too far outside the box.
Okay, who's around you?
Who's around us? Well, from a gold perspective, at the moment, gold's been the real flavour of the district. So Ravenswood, which is Queensland's largest gold mine, is within the district. We've got Pajingo. So Pajingo is about 4 million ounces produced, still operating and going in earnest, and that's about 30 k's, 20 k's to the south of us.
Yep.
And in terms of copper gold, we'd be it, but certainly it's a pretty sizable thing to be starting with.
We're going to finish up in a minute, but I just want to say, look, a couple of people that I know reasonably well, I think are on the register. Correct me if I'm wrong. Lion Selection Group with our dear friend Hedley Widdop, who, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, Hedley and Damien will both be at the Australian Gold Conference in August this year. But I think Hedley's on the register and 1832. Is that correct? Now, they're not idiots, so they're clearly seeing something.
Well, so 1832 asset management out of North America, huge fund, and came in pretty in a big way at the start of the year. So they currently hold it's standing at about 8 and a bit percent of the register at the moment.
Okay.
And Lion Selection, so Hedley and Robin and the team at Lion Selection have been up to site. They did their DD. They tipped in at the raise prior, and then they topped up their initial stake. So they're in just under 5% at the moment as well. Great guys, really supportive. I've been in touch regarding this latest drilling, and they're as excited as I am because they can see this just validates the model, validates the concept, and it validates the approach we're taking to maximising the old data, putting a new set of eyes on it, and really narrowing the focus on that gold and copper part of the system. So they're pretty excited. We're pretty excited, I think. And the register's in good order. It's a lot of upside from here.
Okay. Now, look, not financial advice at all, ladies and gentlemen, but I love to bring you stories, if you like, or companies that are quietly doing the work that I think have slipped a little bit under the radar for you guys. So, reach out to Damien if you've got more questions, but I think it's important to understand that I think one of the issues is that they have to report a zinc equivalent. So people think it's complex. It's not. And by the end of this year, they're going to be doing the gold numbers, and then you'll all sit there and go, oh, I didn't realize, because I look at gold and I go, it's so simple. But because it's a zinc equivalent at the moment, I think potentially you don't fully understand what the value is, but it's big, it's there, and I think it's in a proven district that is massively underexplored. So
these style ores have been mined and milled, so we're not doing something new and novel either. We can recover all of these minerals. It's a very basic concentrate. So we're not doing anything outrageous here either.
All right.
Yeah.
Last time I spoke to you, I said, give us 3 reasons, and you talked about the team, and you talked about the fact that it was underexplored, and this is an area that has had 20 million tons of gold mined in the past. So give me 3 reasons. Give me new ones. Don't talk about
new ones. We've still got the same team, and they're even better than they were. But look, think we talked about concepts and potential last time. Now we're following through and delivering on those concepts and potential. We're demonstrating thick, high-grade mineralisation. We're demonstrating a potential and potential. It is going to be a significant resource update later this year at Liontown, and it is the core focus. But there is still huge amounts of discovery potential in and around some of these really big old systems within the district, and we're fully funded, ready to do the work, and we're out there doing the work at the moment. It's a great time for Sunshine.
Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Music to my ears, fully funded. And the other thing is, when's the resource update going to happen? Sort of October?
That'll be probably December, start of December this year.
All right. Nice little Christmas present out there, everybody. The ASX code, as I said, is SHN, Sunshine Metals, up there in Queensland, doing the work, an hour and a half away from their office, so easy to get to and very underexplored. But they are putting out some good results. Go to their website, check them out. And this is Kerry Sims from Making Money Matter. Thanks, Damien, for joining me today.
Thanks, Kerry. Thanks a lot.